Yeah, listen, we're the greasiest fucking podcast on the internet. Don't ever try to take that away
I don't know
from us.
about that. I mean, Devin Faraci probably has a podcast. So.
Yeah, he has two
Yeah.
podcasts, a
Oh,
Star Wars
shit.
podcast and a Marvel podcast.
Oh my god.
That's fucked up. You would think not even one would be allowed, but
Yeah.
here we are.
I thought they
found
took
out-
your podcasting license away if you got canceled.
I found out one of the movie critics I followed stopped being a movie critic because she was so furious that Sex Pest Devin Faraci was making 3 times the amount that she was, and she was just like, "Fuck you, pigs! I'm out of here." And it's just like enough. It was enough to make me renew my hatred once again, which is
Right.
what I live for.
Reese has completed the purification ritual to renew his hatred of Devin Faraci. He's bathed in the hate. The
It
fountain of
sustains him.
the crystal fountain of hatred that gives him his powers, his podcasting powers.
We should be envious. Many people could only dream of even sipping from the fountain of hatred that Reese bathed in.
It's hard work to nurture this kind of really unhealthy connection to a human being I have not met.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth. I'm your host, Alton. With me, as always, is Reese
Hey!
and Kay.
Ah,
Just gonna say, ah!
yeah.
All right, and today is going to be, I fear we have something of a bummer lined up for today, because as of recording this, we are now on day 2 of what I can only describe as the IGN tweeting about support for Palestine saga, which if we had recorded just one day earlier, might have been a celebration of there finally being ethics in gaming journalism. But as of now,
Not.
yeah, as of now, well, we'll get into it, but basically the tweet has been taken down, the article has been removed, and nothing good is allowed to flourish in this world for more than 24 hours.
Well, let's start at the top.
Right.
As we all know, Meltdown May exploded onto the international stage with the IDF account defending insane. This is how most of the people in Palestine see it, as through the lens of Twitter, and they have been just embarrassingly trying to defend, just blowing up the AP, just innocent children. It is an awful state.
I can give a little bit of an overview of the situation, although I frankly have just been, like everyone else, doom scrolling and reacting to what I can only describe as a wall of horrors.
Unprecedented evil
Yeah.
gremlin behavior.
And
Yeah.
as far as I can tell, what set this off was there's a Muslim holiday that was being celebrated in Palestine. Kay, do you know any more info about this? Because I don't know how to read, and Kay, we rely on you to be our sole member who knows how to read.
Oh shit! Oh fuck! Yeah, no, I believe that this kicked off on Eid. That's correct,
yes, that's
I think.
right. Yeah.
But my understanding from tweets I have read, I didn't go into this with a lot of research on the topic because I'm a big dummy.
Right.
But my understanding is that Netanyahu is using this to basically kind of amass his power back. I don't know exactly what's happening, but maybe he's going out of office, something like that. I don't know. I did not prepare to talk about the actual important part of this. The video game part of this is
This is a video game podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're not. I definitely want to put that out front that if you want, this is not the podcast to listen to if you want like an actual good overview of the situation happening. Because I speak for Reese and myself when I say we are two complete idiots, and Kay, I don't know if we want to be like semi idiots, but you are certainly, I would imagine, probably more plugged into like the real politics side of this than we are.
Maybe, but I think semi-idiot is a fair title. I'll accept that.
Well, I think the important thing to just note is that there's just the obvious aggression of Israel against Palestine.
Yeah,
is the kind of underlying thing, and they're just making the dumbest excuses about it, because that's just what they do, because they believe they should be there and Palestinians shouldn't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And to get this right off the bat, like, this podcast does not recognize the legitimacy of Israel, which I'm sure will be a devastating blow to Netanyahu and the IDF. They were relying
they
on
won't
us.
recover.
No.
I really appreciate that we're headed to the next tier of episode that might get us assassinated.
I mean, if the Jeffrey Epstein episode didn't, I don't think this will either. What has prompted this conversation is essentially the fact that, in solidarity with the Palestinian people, IGN and several other gaming news outlets tweeted out their support and created an article of links to charities and organizations you can donate to help out the Palestinian people.
This is huge, because we've never seen a good take from video game journalists before. So this is a really big development.
Yeah.
And considering that literally every like Western outlet with a platform, like IGN is a huge website, and it was probably the biggest show of support out there, like in the West.
Yeah, more integrity than actual news sites have, because Reese briefly alluded to this earlier, but yeah, one of the things that the IDF did is that they fucking blew up one of the tallest like residential and office buildings in fucking Palestine, and inside of the building were the offices for the Associated Press. And oh my fucking god, the fucking press release when like the AP like fucking reported on like their own offices being blown up. Like, let me see if I can like find it. It was a couple days ago, but it was, oh, here it is. Breaking: Israeli airstrike flattens high-rise building that houses the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and other media in Gaza City about an hour after evacuation order.
Yeah, that really stands out, because obviously the Associated Press is a US-based sort of news network, and they had been doing a shit ton of legwork defending Israel throughout the past week of fucking airstrikes and child murdering in Palestine. So they've been doing a lot of, no, yeah, it's cool, they probably were terrorists, don't worry about the body count. And just kind of, parroting the pro-Israel line on things, and then they get their fucking headquarters blown up. But no, it's so deeply cucked that after that they were still just like, well, we don't want to be mean about it. I guess you had to blow up all our stuff.
Yeah.
Give us an hour to get everyone out of the building. Thanks.
The fact that IGN.com, whose bread and butter are articles like top 5 video game titties on the PlayStation 5, it was able to be less cucked than a organization that was bombed. Just like total wussy shit to not even be like, don't do that, please. Like, don't. This is bad when you hurt the people in our profession. Or threaten them. They're just like, well, we're sorry for being in the building you bombed. Oh my god.
And it's like other journalists who are at least a little more to the left did come out to condemn it. But any even slightly right-wing journalist was just like, you guys shouldn't have been in there with terrorists. It's pretty sus that the building was full of terrorists, AP. Like, immediately just regurgitating the IDF excuse.
Individual journalists have been better, but no organization, no platform has stood up for it, which we saw when that reporter got absolutely butchered in Saudi Arabia, and most everybody was just like, well, it happens.
I mean, they were, to be fair, they were mad about that, but not enough for things to change at all. Like, we just went back to, like, it's however many months away from that event occurring, and now I don't think that they're, beyond, like, the usual couple articles about, Saudi Arabia's human rights violations, nothing changed.
Yeah.
We're still selling them tons of weapons. We're still basically endorsing their war in Yemen, It's just like, the media just, like, they just got bored. And that is like the for-profit media in a nutshell. It's like they can't dedicate themselves to any fucking cause because they gotta sell fucking mags, and the same story over and over again is just not interesting.
They were mad in the way that they were basically yelling, listen, if you kill 11 or 12 more reporters, we're gonna have to do something about this. It's
gonna be a petition. Yeah.
Our next article, doing propaganda for your government, will be 10% less positive.
No more free copies of the Sunday edition of the New York Times to the royal family.
That's right.
Ooh.
That's right. Fucking show them. Oh my fucking god. Speaking about, like, the press, have you seen, like, edits to the Gray Lady? Like, holy shit.
Edits to the Gray Lady, you always know, but it's dark to see the actual edit.
It's fucking insane. Let me see. I'm scrolling through, like, all the things that I've retweeted, which is a lot. It's been a busy couple of days. Here's one that I wanted to talk about. This is from Editing the Gray Lady at NYT_diff.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna read the original title first, and then I'm gonna read, like, the new title. All right. The police entered the compound and fired rubber-tipped bullets. Anger was already building in response to the looming expulsion of several Palestinian families from their home in the city. All right, that's the original title. That's read and crossed out. Now, here's the new title. Gaza militants fired rockets towards Jerusalem, and the Israeli police fought with Palestinian protesters in an escalation of violence after a week of increasing tensions.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Literally framing it and that, like, oh yeah, they just fired rockets towards Jerusalem. No provocation there. No reason. They were just like, yeah, we hate Israel. We're just gonna fire rockets at them for no reason. And then, like, the noble Israeli police force fought with protesters. Protesting what? What were they protesting? Were they protesting rockets being fired towards Jerusalem? I don't think so, because otherwise would you fire on them? It's like they literally chopped and mixed it to make it look like Israel is responding to a situation that had nothing to do with them.
This has kind of been the strategy for Israel's PR, which is what the New York Times often is. Let's be honest.
The worst fucking website, the worst fucking outlet ever.
It's horrendous, absolutely. But it's always been about just being like, there's this mysterious aggression coming from Palestine. We couldn't possibly know what their problem is, but we are simply responding to it. We have a right to defend ourselves. As they, fucking demolish people's homes, and their border seems to just keep growing somehow.
And burst into, like, a temple on, like, a holy day to shoot people with rubber-tipped bullets. Like, maybe that has something to do with, like, the rockets and the protests? Maybe? No, couldn't be. And honestly, when you see stuff like this, it's like, you just realize, like, the media is just, like, complete trash. It is, like, literally the enemy of the truth in, like, 90% of cases.
Absolutely. And I think it's extra grotesque that this was done on Eid as well, because it's a very celebratory day after, like, a month of fasting for Ramadan, which I probably couldn't fucking do. But, Eid is the day when that ends and everyone can party and eat what they want and stuff and do all the things they've been sort of depriving themselves of for a full month. So it's I don't know, to turn that into a catalyst for just a week of fucking ridiculous violence that just strikes me as extra disgusting.
Yeah, and it was deliberate too.
Of course it fucking was.
We're getting even more into the weeds on like how fucking disgusting and awful this situation is, and how basically this whole fucking situation, it has 100% backing from like the United States government and like every single media outlet, which is just fucking insane. And I think that there's another fucking like a fucking tweet like 3 days ago from President Biden saying, as the holy month of Ramadan comes to an end, Jill and I send our warmest greetings to all those celebrating Eid and billions of dollars of weapons to Israel. I added that part. May you be well throughout the year. Oh my God.
It's much the same here in the UK.
This is Democrats, right? It's just like, we're going to celebrate Ramadan with you. Have a happy Eid or whatever. And then behind their backs, just selling weapons to Israel. And then I think President Biden also said some shit like reaffirming the United States commitment to Israel and whatever bullshit. Yeah. It really is just like, we just live in like a fucking nightmare country.
Yeah, it's gross. The UK is the same. Even Labour leader Keir Starmer, completely in bed with Israel. No real concern about what's going on. I'm not sure if he's even made a fucking statement. I don't know if he's bothered to say shit. Let's have a quick little peeky here.
Has he said anything?
I'm scrolling back further and further, and my man does not tweet very much.
Oh man! Speaking of statements,
you'd have to say something.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Okay, he made like a totally like bog standard happy Eid everyone post on the day, and there has been absolutely no mention, at least on his account, from about any of the violence. So great job, fuckface. Awesome. And of course, previous Labour leader Corbyn has been at pro-Palestine demonstrations, speaking and stuff like that, and supporting in any way marginalized people. I mean, while our wet boy just kind of stays quiet.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistent on that front for like fucking 50 years. Like that old picture of him getting arrested by like join this picket sign on him.
Hey, you know what, actually, guys, on his page 9 hours ago, he has made one almost related statement, Keir Starmer that is, which is, in the UK, there was a car covered in Palestinian flags that apparently was shouting like anti-Semitic shit that was driving around.
Oh yeah.
And everyone on the right has been parodying the story of this one car and being like, look, the pro-Palestine people do just hate Jews. So of course Keir Starmer has retweeted that to condemn it. No condemnation yet of Israel killing like how many people? What's the fucking body count just from this past week? Like over 100.
Is it? Oh my God! Last time
I think so.
Probably. Whatever we say, I mean, it's gonna go up. For all we know, there might not even be in Israel by the time I finish editing this podcast.
I know we all toss around the word psyop so often, but that is such a, even if it happened, just amplifying, just waiting for the right person to amplify is the perfect thing, because the anti-Semitism argument is as just rampant in the UK, but you see it everywhere online. Even I read something, people criticizing Starmer just for being in the same party as Corbyn, like bearing some responsibility for the violence that's occurring, just totally disconnected from reality. And it's just like any criticism of the murder of children means that you hate Jews just like Hitler. And it's insane. It is really like one of the most foremost like critical thinking tests of like, can you see past the bullshit I've experienced like in my lifetime. And it's the one like slightly silver lining that's going on, is you do see some people speaking out. I mean, Corbyn has always been a king, but you see Ilhan Omar, Bernie, they've been keeping it real. I believe it was Ilhan Omar or maybe
Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah, maybe Rashida Tlaib, who just straight up called it an apartheid state. And Meghan McCain was like, every Democrat should be asked whether or not they think Israel is an apartheid state. And it's just like, worst person you know has a great point. It's,
Yeah. Even
it's
AOC called it an apartheid state, I believe.
That's great. You never know with her sometimes. So I hesitate.
It feels
to
random with her, yeah.
Yeah, but so that's good. And people are, the Western libs are going apeshit that there's any dissent at all, because it used to be just 100% absorbed. So that is nice to see, and that kind of was nice to see in the IGN thing, that to bring us back around.
Yeah, we need to get back on the topic that we actually set out to discuss.
Yeah.
Just to quickly clarify, I Googled it, and the death toll is just under 200 at this point.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's ugly.
What were you saying, Reese?
To continue on with the IGN story, we were very pleased with IGN. They had the Palestinian flag on their kind of website header, and then like the next morning, IGN Israel, which is like a punchline, posted like an Instagram story just being like, "We are disgusted. We were not talked to about this list of Palestinian charities." Like, it's not this. If you read the statement, it wasn't even really like, it didn't speak the truth. It was just like, people are dying, and this is how we can help people. And they were just like, no one's going to be helping the families of murdered children on our watch. And they first they took down the Palestinian flag from the header and kind of had a more neutral Red Cross thing, and now it's just all been deleted.
One thing I do want to pull from the IGN Israel statement real quick.
Okay.
Is one little thing they do is they say, we at IGN Israel support the Israel state, brackets, obviously, and support the IDF soldiers who are doing everything to keep us all safe these tough days. So they're just kind of reaffirming that agreement and obedience to the state of Israel is just it doesn't even need to be said if you are Israeli. That's kind of the idea that they're trying to reinforce. And then that is extended to Jewish people everywhere, which is sort of an insidious fucking thing that happens. Just wanted to point that out in their little statement.
One of the most, I don't know, to me, it's like annoying and disgusting, like most things conservatives do, but I'm sure to like actually Jewish people, it's horrifying, where they treat like the home country of like American Jewish people as Israel. Even though these are like people who are born and raised in the United States, might not have even ever been to Israel, they're just sort of like, how dare you say something about that, like about your home country, Israel. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, that's a big part of why like a huge number of right-wing Zionists in America are like really awful anti-Semitic Christians, because they hate Jewish people, and the idea of there being somewhere they can, encourage them all to fuck off to is very appealing to them as well. And that's a lot of the American support base for Israel, which is not probably not great for Jewish people anywhere.
And the reason that they love them, it should be pointed out, is because Israel is the dawn of revelations, the end of the world, where they'll be lifted up and we'll get to watch us as we descend into hell. It's just unhinged bullshit.
Doomsday cult shit.
Specifically, like when the Jews are in control of Israel again, is like when the end times are supposed to come and God's supposed to come down and give every like conservative Christian, take them up to heaven, and we all just get to wallow in hell, not like now,
Yeah, totally unlike now.
I grew up in a pretty Christian household, and like every Sunday, like we'd go to church and there'd be some Israel stuff, and then we'd watch John fucking Hagee. And
oh wow.
Always the second half of John Hagee's stuff was like a discussion about Israel and the end times, and then like there was always like a paid commercial that was like part of the show about like his trips to Israel, and just like the like focal points of like the end times and the history too, but it was an obsession. And John Hagee is one of the biggest American lobbies for Israel. It is insane how intertwined it is, and they don't tell you to your face why it's so intertwined, which is the already mentioned apocalypse.
The doom cult.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. Yeah.
The fucking doom, like anti-Semitic doom cult. Because one of the things, about the revelations, like the rapture, is that you're supposed to believe in that Jesus is the Son of God, or else you get stuck here on Earth with the rest of us plebs. So, all the Jewish people that they're supposedly, allies with, they think that they're going to hell.
Yeah, and that's fine as long as they support the fucking apartheid state. But if you can find like one idiot with a Palestinian flag saying something gross about Jewish people I'm pretty sure this was in the UK, then the whole of Palestine is forfeit, and you can't support them. That's racism.
Exactly. So we've got off onto. I mean, this is a topic that lends itself.
Yeah, there's
to
so much
tangents.
to.
It is a fucking nightmare topic that's like involves doomsday cults. It's a fucking genocide. It's like a new colonial project.
Yeah.
Israel's only been like a thing since 1947, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's not like this is some ancient fucking country or culture. It's like literally just invented whole cloth in the 40s and 50s, and it's just been going, if anything, even more insane as like the time marches on.
Or no, sorry, I think it was 1948 because that would be when the Nakba was.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of history here, despite it like the short time that it's existed, and every single part of it is just like something out of. It's almost hard to believe, like the details of like how and why like the conservative Christian right like supports Israel. Like, I mean, obviously there are other reasons to support Israel, as said by our wonderful president Joe Robinette Biden, where he was like, if there wasn't an Israel, we would have to invent an Israel to protect our interests in the region.
That was the most honest thing I'd ever heard that fucking demon say. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. The whole thing, everyone involved with this is demonic. Like,
yeah.
I'd like to bring this back around just to the IGN thing.
Hopefully we can stay on it.
Yes, thank you, Reese.
But just because that is what brings the topic here. I could bloviate about things I know nothing about for hours, but
Among Us.
Remy Ismail puts it perfectly with the IGN shit. Understand how important this is. This is him tweeting. Clearly, IGN and Game Informer editorial posted this under their editorial freedom. If these posts are gone, it very likely means their corporate owners stepped across the editorial barrier and forced the censorship of those humanitarian resources. It's not that they said, we don't want to talk about this subject. They're specifically just like, don't help people who are dying and destitute. That is you talk about, ethics in game journalism and politics surrounding this. There's so much stupid frippery, and this is just like easily the darkest thing that's ever happened. I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but I don't think so.
Well, Reese, clearly this has nothing to do with ethics because I don't see titties anywhere being removed. So.
Oh, maybe they should have put titties on the Palestinian flag.
Jesus.
That's wow. That's we're gonna make everybody mad this episode. But I agree. And let me just say, on the pettiest possible way, IGN could have just lapped Kotaku and Polygon and the social justice front, just come from behind, just absolutely ate their lunch. And I thought that was very funny considering, until they got to sniping at IGN about this, Kotaku and Polygon had nothing to say. Their individual reporters did, but they did not. They stayed in their lane and they had plenty of time to say something. So I'm not giving them any credit now that they get to bite a little at IGN.
As bad as it is, Kotaku did follow up on IGN, and they eventually posted their own article. And as much as it fucking sucks, the Kotaku one is still up, which is very indicative of like fucking IGN's like ownership, basically.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm being too harsh on them, but I feel like IGN kind of opened the floodgates, and that was the brave thing to do. I mean, they were first. They were the first ones, and they like went full bore at it. They had like the fucking Palestinian flag in the header, which is like it's honestly displaying a remarkable amount of bravery that basically nobody expects from IGN. IGN is not like they're not the website that goes into like topics of social justice. They're fucking IGN. They're the place you go to like see a 9-point something or other attached to every single shitty AAA open world game.
Yeah, they're not even hard hitting with fucking video games.
No, exactly. Like you could barely. This is a website that can barely review video games, and and somehow they were the ones who were like first and honestly hardest to the plate when it came to Palestine, which is like gotta give them like respect for that. Like holy shit.
The Palestinian flag flew over 7 different guides to Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
I think I want to take this moment to have like a little trip to the salt mines, if you two don't mind.
Let's go there.
A surprise trip to the salt mine?
Well, it's not that much of a surprise. I've been ragging on this for like the past day or so, but one of gaming's biggest dipshits, and that's really saying something, Colin Moriarty felt the need to weigh in on the situation with IGN. So his tweet, I find this so strange, not for any other reason than IGN's seemingly increasing need to shove the personal politics of its staff into the faces of its readers at every possible turn. Quote, no matter how unassociated with their product or completely irrelevant to their audience it is. And this comes to us from American Truck Songs 8 at Ethan Gatch, who's a staff writer at Kotaku. Go figure. Where he found a walkthrough on IGN from Colin Moriarty for Mega Man 6 that says, this FAQ and all 24 other of my FAQ/walkthroughs are now dedicated to the over 6,000 innocent people killed in the World Trade Center and Pentagon terrorist attacks in New York City.
Like even before going into the hypocrisy here, that's such a fucking funny thing to do.
I mean,
I'd like to dedicate my Mega Man walkthrough to victims of 9/11.
It's not like fucking IGN just in an unrelated article, like an unrelated article is just like, oh, by the way, we dedicate, like Reese said, this guide to the top 5 titties in video games to the people of Palestine who are resisting Zionist or Israeli occupation. No, they just had an article like giving links to how you can support these people. It's just like it's one fucking article.
It was so diplomatic. It wasn't even anti-Israel in any way, really, so much as it was just like kind of pro-Palestine.
Yeah,
but even that is too much.
People are dying on only one side here, despite what the discussion of rocks are being put forward.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like Colin Moriarty is like, to give you some fucking background on this idiot. Kind of funny co-founder Colin Moriarty quits in wake of sexist tweet.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. This is his tweet from 2017. Peace and quiet. # a day without a woman. So it's just like,
oh my god.
This is just like a grade A dipshit.
I'm sorry, that's a banger of a tweet. What a shithead. I love it.
Yeah, and it just like he is one of gaming's biggest dipshits, and it really is just because he is basically a shill for the Koch brother psyop ideology of libertarianism.
I would like to read his dedication to 9/11 in the Mega Man 6 FAQ in full.
All right, go ahead.
This FAQ and all 24 other of my FAQ/walkthroughs are now dedicated to the over 6,000 innocent people killed in the World Trade Center and Pentagon terrorist attacks in New York City, New York, and Washington, D.C. on September 11, 2001. To all of the innocent working people, the New York firemen, as well as other emergency workers, you will always be remembered. We won't stop until we bring these criminals to justice. Your deaths were, all caps, not in vain. God bless America. Death to all terrorists of all races everywhere.
I feel like this is really a little time capsule of how insane everyone got after 9/11. I remember somebody talking about like how much support in the Israeli population there is for the horrible shit that the IDF does. Yeah. Vincent Bevins, who wrote the Jakarta Method, I think it was talking about it on Twitter, and someone was like, have you ever seen anything quite like this? And he said what he saw that was worse was America just after 9/11, just like that rabid, unquestioning, this is our enemy, we will destroy them no matter what, they're not even human sort of mentality. I think should be familiar to anyone who was alive around that time. It was fucking crazy.
It was truly wild and not accurately depicted in anything I've really seen in terms of like, other than just like straight up documentation of the era. Like it's just has never been replicated. It's all kind of like a much fuzzier like recollection, but it was so dark and so complete. Either people were just like checked out, or I don't know, it worked. Propaganda just worked.
Yeah, I mean, we were coming in on about 10 years into a world without the USSR and where there was no competing ideology, even superficially anymore. That's why the 90s was such a fucking cultural wasteland in a lot of ways. So we were just coming out of that. And then suddenly America, who had not experienced any sort of attack on its own soil since probably like fucking Pearl Harbor, all of a sudden there's this really big spectacle of an attack right in New York City. Like everyone's brains were so primed to be dissolved, and they were just scooped up by that.
Yeah, Dick Cheney saw an opportunity and he took it.
Yeah, and it was so all-encompassing. Like I think it's like a Lindsay Ellis video about like protest songs I watched a little while ago that made a really good point about how like, there's loads of protest songs around Vietnam and stuff, but when 9/11 happened and then the Forever Wars began, artists were all just like making songs about how awesome it is and how America's going to kick your ass and stuff. And it was like the bare minimum of like, the cultural aspect of opposing wars that existed in a lot of the 20th century was just gone. And it was all like culture in service now of US aggression.
I think it's the Toby Keith song where he's just the venom with, he says, the boot in your ass, maybe be the worst lyric in American history, just because of the like the darkness like surrounding it, like what it actually means and entails for what everybody at the moment felt about American empire. It's insane.
Yeah, when I hear that now, the footage of, I think like it was probably like a helicopter shooting civilians that I think Chelsea Manning leaked. You probably know the one. Everyone saw that one. Like shot a bunch of civilians, and then like someone came and tried to pick them up to bring them to a hospital, and then they shot all those people. It was like a camera on the helicopter or whatever. That just plays in my head whenever I hear any of that fucking music from that era, because that's just the reality of what that sort of cultural bravado was leading to, basically.
That song, by the way, is called "Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue," in parentheses, "The Angry American."
Jesus Christ.
Fucking repulsive.
Anyways, sorry to go off on that tangent.
I'm just saying, death to the USA forever. That's all.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing is just like one of the issues with like right wing drooling morons like Colin Moriarty and his little reactionary fan base. And I have like a nice example here from the Grumpy Bee. AOC tweeted out some thing, I don't really care, about Magic the Gathering. And then Magic the Gathering, the official Magic the Gathering account said, "You're cool with us too." And then the Grumpy Bee, he's very upset. And this goes straight into like the thing about how basically anything that's right wing is not political, but anything that is like even remotely associated with the left is super political. Grumpy Bee says, "A lot of paying customers don't like her. Retract and declare apolitical."
Declare apolitical at once.
The fucking retract and declare apolitical is the fucking funniest, like, idiot thing to say possible.
Yeah, that's ugh.
And then what he follows it up with is very funny, where like Nostradamus replies, "Right-wing gamers are worth alienating," and then Grumpy Bee is, "We were here before your kind. We will be here long after. Games inherently, mechanically, fundamentally lean right. It gets inside you. Eventually, it forces you out, or you join the right side. Creatives can rage against it, but they can't change the bedrock facts." And when he says creatives, do you mean the people like creating all the fucking supposedly right-wing games you're playing? You idiot.
Creatives just means people he doesn't like.
Yeah, and it's like mechanically games are right-leaning. And I mean, there is something to say about that it's basically, you know, a bunch of games are like just use violence, but I don't think that that like affects anyone's opinions about like politics.
I don't know. I feel like the more video games I play, the more of a communist I become, because so many of them are such wasted potential because of whatever jerk-offs own the company.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like what I agree with him that the mechanics lean right wing. I mean, they've got microtransactions for every single fucking thing in like a Star Wars game. I don't think most people's reactions to that is like, "Oh, well, I love this. Let me become even more of like a deranged capitalist drone," which is appropriate.
I guess
for Grumpy
he's admitting
Bee.
that he's an easily influenced idiot, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like he's contradicting himself in that he's like, at the one hand, he wants things to be apolitical, but then he just like, games are fundamentally right wing. Pick a side, dumbass.
Yeah, you know, apolitically right wing.
Well, I mean, that basically describes what people think the United States and Israel are.
Yeah, that's what they actually think, and it's these people are fucking morons, you know.
Exactly.
And I find it so funny because it doesn't seem to me that she was even like saying anything like AOC. She just, "I like Magic the Gathering."
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the fuck she said. Like, I don't care, but it's just like people lose their mind about AOC. And it's like, retract and declare apolitical.
Oh, I just wanted to draw our attention to this tweet, which is from the Grumpy Bee, which is about the attack on the AP building, connected to journalism is not a crime. People kind of defending the AP in this situation. The Grumpy Bee says targeting the enemy's propaganda wing is legit. Which
fucking idiot. And again, I want to reiterate, the Associated Press has been covering for Israel so fucking much this past week.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to these right-wing idiots. It's just dogmatic to the point where it's deeply embarrassing. Not that really matters, but I see this and I go, cringe, buddy. It's a cringe genocidal opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's showing how like absurdly right-wing he is, because you get this with the far right in the UK, where they think the BBC is like run by communists, even though it basically does PR for the Conservative Party. Yeah. Because just the fact that AP will like admit that anyone has died on the Palestinian side, or admitted that there were airstrikes at all, that it becomes far left pro-Palestine propaganda in the eyes of someone like this, even if they always, couch it in an excuse for why it's fine.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about this about a bit. I think the problem is with this topic is that we keep getting off topic because there's so much to talk about. And I think we mostly covered it.
I think we're ready to move on. I think, we kind of tossed a couple of these things in there with the purpose of having a broad discussion. I've said all my points anyway.
Yeah. Free Palestine, long live the liberatory IGN People's Army.
Amen.
Hell yeah. Okay, so our next topic of today is surprisingly about actual video games for once.
Whoa.
Which I know we barely talk about them. Yeah, we hate them. We think they shouldn't exist, but we keep playing them anyway, which is
we're sick people
to our infinite shame. And specifically, we want to talk about a thread concerning Lady Vampire Mommy, otherwise known as Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
And Reese, you have actually played the Vampire Mommy video game, and you have things to say about it. So enlighten us, will you?
Both Kay and I have beaten it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. I forgot you've been streaming it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good game. It's a fun Resident Evil. I'm glad Mercenaries is back. But the greatest shame, and I think this is an important announcement, a bit of a spoiler, but Lady Dimitrescu is only in the first, 20% of the game. There's four lords that you have to defeat, bosses that you have to overcome, and she is the first and best.
Damn.
As much as I like the game overall. So it's all downhill from the beginning. And everyone has to know that. And Kay has made an excellent tweet where they said that they're waiting for the mod that puts Lady Dimitrescu in everything. And I cannot agree more.
That's right.
It is the true heart of the game.
It really just goes to show like how unexpected I think the popularity, the breakout popularity of this character is for Capcom, because they were just like, oh yeah, we got 4 different dipshits that you have to kill, and this is just the first one, so here's the demo with her. And like after they got that initial response, they're like, oh holy shit, people really like this character, we better put her on all the fucking advertisements for it.
Yeah, but it was too late to put her in the rest of the game.
Exactly. I feel like maybe, fingers crossed, maybe like in the expansion stuff that they do for these Resident Evil games, they'll be like, okay, now here's a story completely about Lady Dimitrescu.
Oh, that'd be cool. They might. That would be a good move.
It's a possibility. Think. So maybe you can hold out hope for more Vampire Mommy. Everyone's thirsty for Vampire Mommy. They just can't get enough.
That's right.
She's by far the most palatable of the characters in Resident Evil. You don't see the hero, Ethan, quote, hero protagonist. And there's like a weird, shitty little doll. There's a fish monster and an incel. And so it's like Lady Dimitrescu is by far the one you would want to see. And I think a little bit in Capcom's defense, this thread by Xavier CK3D, who is a 3D artist, went ham describing why Lady Dimitrescu is unique. The other issue with that is that there's a lot of Elizabeth Warren-esque tier commentary in the middle of it, so I'm looking for...
Yeah, we do not endorse all of this man's opinions.
When we were, oh my fucking god, we were talking about this earlier, and it was like, when I posted, like, I quote tweeted this, and I was like, oh my god, I never realized this about character design, and like the uncanny valley of like some characters. And it's like, a lot of people were like, who is this? Why am I blocked by them? And I think that Reese went back and searched their tweets, and holy fucking shit, there's a tweet from 2019. Oh, let me read this one. From Xavier. Bernie announcing he's running for 2020 when there are already half a dozen women who've announced their candidacy is the most white guy move imaginable.
Fuck. What a dweeb.
A fucking dweeb. And then like one of the responses is like waiting for Bernie bros to split the vote again. It's just like, you absolute fucking moron.
Yeah.
And it's the first 7 tweets in this thread, which does get good, talking about like condemning the dadification of games, which I think is overall a fake idea. Yes, there is rampant sexism in games, of course, but like the dadification meme is like based off of like Last of Us and God of War and stuff like that. I feel is like very, very overwrought as a thing to condemn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
As like toxic masculinity. It's just like,
yeah, I definitely wouldn't even accept that a lot of the games in question are toxic in the first place, you know?
Yeah, it's like maybe perhaps, you know, a little basic in presentation, you know, not a foundational text.
Right. Now that we've done telling you how much of a dipshit this person is, let's get into why we agree with them.
No, but they are correct to start the thread after the dadification talk. However, I do think she represents a sea change in how women are being thought of as characters in game. Lady D isn't a complex or particularly interesting written character. She's a cartoon villain, but her simple visual presentation is a sign of bigger things.
I really want to talk about this bit that gets really into the specifics about her facial features. That's something that, honestly, when I got to this point of the thread, it kind of blew my mind a little bit, which might have had something to do with me being very high at the time. But
take it away. Get to the good part.
All right, so I'm skipping ahead to like this part talking about her facial features. Like Lady D has visible facial wrinkles, even in her neutral pose, and a distinct nasolabial fold, which is like the 2 lines on either side of your nose that go down to like the corners of your mouth, which like every fucking person has.
Yeah.
But like they make an incredibly good point. Like these are things you simply don't see on most female game characters, even when they're supposed to be quite old. From my personal experience making AAA characters, this is significant. Most 3D characters in general, and women specifically, are art directed not to have facial folds or wrinkles. That's how you get weird, wrinkle-free extreme expressions like this one of Anna from Frozen. Which, the fucking thing he shows, honestly, is like fucking Uncanny Valley if you like look at it. Like, she's calling this bizarre expression with like your teeth bared like a fucking doll.
Yeah. It looks like a skeleton, like a skeleton. Like she doesn't have skin. There's no like motion in the skin.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like Lady D's facial model and whatever post work they did on her retains natural smile lines and cheek dimples, which you don't see on most characters. There's a tendency to smooth these things out, which I've experienced firsthand. Even in the fairly neutral lighting of the scanning stage, you can see that Stephanie Justin's very slight nasolabial fold has been smoothed out for Quiet's model. This is a common practice and meant to make female characters look more young and beautiful. This is not restricted to female models. I've personally done this on male models after being art directed to do so. I can't show that work because of copyright restrictions, but I don't exactly have any reason to lie. It was also the right choice for the given thing, so shrug. So this is like the most important thing. Like he shows this side by side of like Quiet from the video game Love Happy Gears 5 and the actress who they got for like the facial mocap model. And like it's made me realize like something I think I've maybe realized subconsciously about like female video game models, in that they don't look like fucking human beings. You know what I mean? They just like they're so fucking smooth. It took somebody like actually pointing it out for me to be like, oh my god, this is sort of why like video game characters have such like an uncanny valley look to them, because they just don't look like human beings.
Yeah, they're all like this guy says earlier in the thread, they're all like 18 to 20 is the look that they're all going for.
Man, I think even 18 to 20-year-olds have like this nasolabial fold thing. Like they have like lines on their face. It's just like these are perfectly smooth beings.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's even more ridiculous than that, because they're taking like a mocap actor like the one in the example here. She's probably like mid-20s in this picture. You know, she looks fine, she looks young, but that's not enough. You know, it has to be completely smooth. Any sign of age or imperfection has to be.
This is a very
off.
obviously beautiful woman, and
Yeah.
they've taken her and they've sanded out all like the features of her face.
And it should be underlined that the features are the nasolabial fold is very slight, as he says.
It's so slight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason not to put it in, and it just makes it look weird. And you know, I always kind of thought in the back of my head that, you know, yes, it's sexist, but video games are like this just because they can't for some reason. They're just like not talented enough. No, it's of course like a directed stupidity.
Yeah. So what we're saying is Lady Dimitrescu is the first video game character to look like a person.
Kind of, yeah. Like, she's other than her size, of course, she's really normal looking. Like her face, she just kind of looks like a person. There's nothing that abnormal about it, which I think is quite striking.
And the proportions of her body, it's like she doesn't have like a teeny tiny minuscule waist. You know, it's like for once we have a video game character, like 90% proportion like a normal human being. You know, a very, very big normal human being.
That's the hilarious irony, is that she is 700 feet tall and looks more realistic than any other video game woman. And you know, he points out its significance because she's very purposefully sexualized as like, you know, 30s, 40s woman. And he talks about like the way that they tailor the dress on her to make it alluring, and the way that, you know, the breasts, while, you know, giant and maybe a little, you know, silly in presentation in this game, are thoughtfully done in a real way, and that's interesting.
Lady D got big naturals. Everyone else just got boob implants.
Alton, I gotta correct you. The biggest naturals.
And it's, yeah, I mean, she's hot as shit, and that's significant because she's, yeah, like it says in the thread, she's like 40, and you just don't see that. It compares it to every other character in this thread that we see look like an 18-year-old who has then been airbrushed. You know, like they don't look normal at all. Like there's Tifa for Final Fantasy. There's even your fucking your wife in the same game, Mia.
Yeah.
She's got to be like at least mid-30s at this point. She's had a fucking child. She looks like a fucking 15-year-old, at least in her face.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's clear it's like not even like Resident Evil is so progressive, but it's this one portrayal is just incredibly interesting, and that I think legitimately part of what makes her stand out is that it in a subconscious way, it's like very interesting, and that realism, like, you know, it connects through the screen. You know, I think if they'd smoothed her out and she was just giant in a big booba dress, you know, like I'm sure plenty of people would jack off to it, of course, but it wouldn't have the same earth-shattering impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, good job, Warren Moron. Good point.
Yeah, excellent point. You know your shit. And so and you have to really know your shit to get kudos from the just absolutely broke-brained, Bernie goblins. The kind of host that the second he sees somebody with purple glasses, he searches their Twitter name and Sanders to see what they say.
Oh my god. It's so funny to me because, like, one of the things I was joking about, I was going to say we should put a disclaimer before we talked about them that if they supported Elizabeth Warren, we condemn them. And, like, before Reese, like, searched for Sanders on his timeline, it was like, holy fucking shit. Like, man, did I call that?
Yeah. I mean that's a little peek into our depraved spider web of talks where we're just like, this is a really interesting point. How can we make this about something that happened a year ago?
Pretty much. Yeah.
And we will continue to do that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, never let it go.
Yeah, hell fucking no. You idiots will never be allowed to forget that you're the person you support ate shit in her own fucking state and came in third.
You know what? My big theory for the importance of social change is people need to get better at holding grudges. When the Dems fuck you over, you need to not be able to be won over by a few like nice words 4 years later. You need to remember what they did. You need to really hang on to that.
This is the this is the fucking book of grudges theory of political change.
Yeah, unironically, that's it.
I think that has some merit because I saw a lot of people like seeing Joe Biden's like very meager reforms, just like something that was like wildly needed, just to keep the engine running. And people are like, oh, "Look, aren't we so? It's so great."
The
that
next
we voted
FDR.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the next day, he's just like, there are jobs for you unemployed dipshits.
Yeah.
Get back to work. And it's just like, yep, great work, everybody.
We're not legalizing
FDR.
weed. We have no we're not. It's not a priority for us. Something that would make us outrageously popular if we did. Just like this fucking asshole fired like all this is just getting way off topic, but he fucking fired all his staffers who had like filled out this form that like admitted they had smoked weed.
Yeah, what a fucking oh my god.
That's funny. Honestly, I gotta say, I gotta agree with Joe Biden on that one, Alton. Just because how stupid do you have to be to put that on your Joe Biden form or whatever when you turn things in? You're like, if you're gonna work in the White House, you got to be able to lie. Come on.
I mean, yeah, of course they shouldn't have said it, and of course, like, you know, there are people who want to work in the Joe Biden administration, so probably fuck them. But it's at the same time, I can't help but get fucking angry at that. Like the hypocrisy, like I know like hypocrisy is like the most vapid and hollow thing to get upset about because it just everyone fucking does it and there's no fucking consequences ever. But this motherfucker's.
But of course, you're right. This motherfucker.
His fucking son is like the king of smoking crack. And he's like, he won't let his fucking interns smoke a little weed. What the fuck? And he's just like, I love you, my sweetie, precious, special boy. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. The nepotism is unreal. Like, just a vile, corrupt sack of shit who's just like, rules are for thee, not for me. And my disgusting offspring.
And this is why people need to develop the skill, and it is a skill, of holding grudges forever, so that people remember the awful shit he does, and then, you know, if he throws you a tiny little baby-sized bone next week, you don't immediately fucking hard eyes emoji like, oh my god, he's so great, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. We can get back together. I don't care if you hit me. It's fine. Like, it's such a fucking abusive relationship that people have with the Democrats at this point. It's so sad. Learn how to hold a grudge.
I heard some great advice in my college years, which I think is 100% true. It's like somebody's like, the only way to live your life is to just like give completely fully, to love your friends, and give completely fully to just hate your enemies and never let it go.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
And I think that's 100% the truth. Is just like that's the other side of the coin with the idea of solidarity, is that, you know, there's evil among us, and we have to organize to purge that evil.
Like Elizabeth Warren supporters.
Oh man, that quote's gonna come back to haunt me at some point.
I would like to take this opportunity to fully co-sign that quote. I'll go down with you, Reese.
Thank you, Kay.
All right. So I think that covers, you know, unless you want to say anything, I think we've covered the Resident Evil stuff good. Let's close out on a happy note. Let's close out on something we all have a good chuckle about. So this comes to us from the Daily Star. Scrabble officially bans racial slurs, leaving competitive players furious.
Oh man, that's it. I'm switching to upwards.
That's right. Competitive Scrabble players have dubbed the new rules against using racial epithets and other offensive slurs as a form of misguided attempt at social manipulation.
Whoa.
They're so
Mattel,
upset.
which owns the rights to the game outside North America, has been accused of bowing down to political correctness.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I just love the idea of somebody who sees that they're Scrabble tiles and they just, they have the Z or whatever, and they just have the N word spelled out. They're just like, fuck these goddamn rules.
These people are very upset that they have to use ginger instead now.
Oh, damn.
There's just like the company has refused to publish the list, but the official word checker now shows that the banned terms include epithets against Black, Pakistani, and Irish people, as they believe the terms have no place in a family game. This is, I would imagine if this was like in like actual video games, like the people like getting hugely competitive gamers getting hugely mad about this. I mean, that's what's happening. It's like the competitive gamers are just like, you're closing off so many options.
I really love that there's that they're cutting off a game mechanic where you can also be racist, and the fury surrounding that. There is no topic more suited for this podcast, even though there's not too much that I could say about it. It's just chef's kiss, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just in love with the idea that before now there were Scrabble tournaments and people were like putting down the N-word and shit. Like, what the fuck was going on? Was everyone just like, yeah, well, let's just count up those points and pretend we don't see it? Like, what was happening?
Oh man, just imagine I'm imagining like a shitty 80s movie, like where it's like Scrabble competition is like, oh, and the villain, the master of slurs, just like always the one upping everybody because he knows every slur.
The slur master. He's too powerful. We have to ban his slurs so that other people can win.
If we want to save the rec center, you have to defeat the slur master.
That would honestly whip. I would watch that movie.
Absolutely.
The Slur Master, as played by Nick Mullen.
The protagonist has to like struggle with the ethical quandary of do I become the Slur Master as well to defeat him, or do I try to figure out how to win this game without slurs? Which it will be implied is nearly impossible.
Well, this has to be the Cumtown movie now. Adam is the protagonist. He's the weenus who's trying to save the rec center and doesn't want to use slurs. And like, and then Stavi is putting on the term.
Yes, Stavi is like his mentor. He's like his Mr. Miyagi-esque figure, and it's like it's not that he doesn't learn slurs to use in battle. He has to use the light side of slurs, like slurs for British people and Americans. Oh my god!
And he wins by
he wins by spelling ginger. It's just like it's spelled out on it. Oh man, we're thinking way too hard about this.
And then it's like the end of 8 Mile, where it's Nick Mullen is so mad that he's been called a ginger that he just like throws the Scrabble table off the board and walks off.
All right. Oh.
Okay, I think that's the end of this episode.
Yeah, coming to theaters near you.
Nick Mullen is the slur.
Oh fuck.
Oh god.
All right, so let's wrap things up. Kay, where can people find you on the internet and all your good stuff?
You can find me lurking around the internet on twitter.net at kandskittles, and you can find my YouTube videos on YouTube also at kandskittles.
All right, Reese, where can people find you online?
If I don't delete all my social media because I fear the response to the outrageous things I've said today, you can find me on Twitter at Your Very Good Bud. And on there, I have a YouTube account that sometimes I post fun things.
All right. And you can find me at 8alternate on Twitter, youtube.com, Alton Plays, where you can find our main account at vgatoto on Twitter. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/vgatoto, where $1 a month gets you access to all of our premium episodes, including Video Games Are Okay Maybe, where we actually say nice things about video games for once. Our Jeffrey Epstein episode, where we reveal the secret of how Bobby Kotick snuck in and murdered him. And our Mountain Dew...
bleep that out. They have to pay.
Yeah.
And our Mountain Dew horror story episodes, where me, Reese, and our friend Matt discuss some of the most horrifying and just humiliating experiences we've ever had that were associated with a soft drink.
Legitimately the most vulnerable I've ever been in a performance medium.
And one of the funniest, most fucked up stories ever from Matt, which is just like, it's worth the $1, trust me. And you can find our website at videogamesaretheworst.pinecast.co, where you can see all our latest posts whenever I finish my monthly episode editing. What do we close out with?
The right tone to end on is Elizabeth Warren did 9/11.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.